our weight programs and putting it in our offense and defense. And I was really proud of how well and how quick the kids picked up on stuff and showed up every morning. If I told the quarterbacks to be there at 6:30, they were there at 6:30 ready to with their notebooks in hand and ready to get after it. So it's been a great experience so far. We've had a good summer, we've got through most of the COVID stuff this spring and this summer with no problems, and hopefully that continues.
Talk a little bit about the changes in terms of the offensive and defensive sets that you're going to make at Warren.
Well, I'm going to go back to a little bit more of some of the stuff that I did at Guthrie, and we did for three of the first years that I was at Muskogee. We'll implement more of the tight end set. Everybody I know is wanting to go the 4 wide, 5 wide stuff, and it's not that we won't do that. We will have some 4 wide, and I doubt we're ever 5 wide. If we are, we're in trouble and way behind. But we're going to implement tight ends into the game more so. We've got some really good running backs, we feel like, and we got some great receivers. Got 3 young quarterbacks that we're really proud of, and they're going to, we've got a junior, sophomore, and a freshman that's all competing still. The 2 scrimmages are going to be huge for them. But, it's going to go back to a lot of the stuff. We're going to have some option game involved. Again, we don't have him here with us today, but Mason Jim is a kid that's, with any type of season at all is going to go over the 4,500-yard career mark, which is pretty impressive for a high school kid. And so we're certainly going to be able to feed him the ball quite a bit. We got some other younger kids that we feel like will be really good in the backfield as well.
What about the defensive side?
Defensively, last year they ran a 3-4 and did a really good job with it. I've always been a 4-3 or a 4-2-5 guy, but I've got hired Coach Williams here that was our DB coach at Muskogee to come down with me. We're going to still run a 3-4 with being able to be a little versatile and bring up some ends and almost make it look like an Okie at times, which is what we did at Guthrie. I really like the Okie defense, but for right now, that meets our personnel, and that's what you got to go off of, is what you had to work with. And we lost all of our big boys last year, and our whole offensive line and defensive line are going to be new. So we're going to implement. We got more linebacker types, so we're going to be a little bit more of a 3-4 like everybody else is going to.
Last year, the Eagles generally used Adam Thompson and Jace Jackson at quarterback. You mentioned a third. Do you plan to rotate? Are you going to settle on one, or do you know?
I have at places rotated 2. Last year they was rotating actually 3 every now and then. We'll settle in here at the first 2 scrimmages. We've got the 3 right now. Cole Mayfield, our freshman, is also an outstanding quarterback. We're going to give them all equal opportunities up until the first scrimmage. They've all had equal reps through summer passing league and team camp. But at some point after the first scrimmage, we'll narrow it down to the 2 that'll get most of the reps. And then obviously after the second scrimmage, we'll have a starter. They're all going to get to play some. The thing is, if they're not the starting quarterback, they're going to be finding places. We got places for all 3 of them to play. But whoever we decide on at the starting quarterback, we'll be very confident in, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses that they have. And I really like any of the 3, whoever we didn't decide on. But those first 2 scrimmages, or the 2 scrimmages, will have a lot of bearing on where we're at, because they're all just pretty even right now.
And whoever ends up at the quarterback spot will have some pretty good receivers to throw to. We've got some of them here today. Carson and Kalen Park and Jeremiah Pearson are all in that receiver category. Callan, I'll start with you and talk a little bit about what your expectations and kind of what you've seen. And maybe let me ask this question. What kind of adjustments have you had to make with Coach Watkins in terms of temperament and expectations and things like that?
Nothing's really changed. I mean, like, I just do what I do. I just go out there and do what I do. But no, he's a great coach. He knows what he's doing. I mean, nothing's changed. He'll teach me on new stuff, and there's stuff I still have to yet to learn. So yeah, I mean, like, he just lets me do my thing, and he tells me what I do wrong, and then I learn from that.
Jeremiah, talk a little bit about your side as far as the wide receiver.
Yeah, it's like nothing's changed. It's just like I feel like we got a better offense this year to where we can actually like throw the ball, so it gives everybody an opportunity to like show like the player in them. So.
And in the line, you've got Hunter Gertie, and Hunter, talk a little bit about the line as far as how that's set up. Coach mentioned you got a lot of holes there that you had to fill in this year.
Yeah, as far as offensive, defensive line, our offense, we're not as big as we used to be, but we're definitely just as strong, just as fast, just as smart as we were. The offensive line's really easy to learn. Defensive line, we're going to have to be a lot more aggressive with how we were this past year.
You're going to be one of the seniors on that line, and you're going to have to be the guy that's kind of take these younger guys under your wing. Talk a little bit about how you plan to do that. What's your leadership style?
Well, I plan to show them how to be. Coming off of last year, I led the district in sacks after last year, and I plan to try to do it again. Get those guys to show them the right way, the right footsteps, the right movements to get around the offensive line, to get to the quarterback, running back, whoever's back there running the ball.
Also, on that defensive side, Carson, you had 84 tackles last year. Talk a little bit about maybe, do you have an expectation or a goal that you set for yourself that you want to achieve this year?
Oh, definitely. I feel like my goal for this season is to become district linebacker, and they gave it to one of the linebackers from Gore, and I kind of felt cheated out of that. So this year I think I'm going to come back better than ever, more tackles, more aggressive, and I'm going to kind
Do you have a number in mind that you'd like, 110 tackles or whatever?
Oh, I definitely want to break over the 100 mark because I kind of got close last year. Definitely took a big step up from last year and the year before, but I definitely want to get over that 100 mark.
Callan, you're in the defensive backfield. You had, I think, 6 interceptions last year. Do you have a goal in mind that you'd like to get there this year?
Yeah. I'd like to get at least 10, double digits for sure. So, yeah.
You and Carson are brothers, I presume?
No, we're not.
Nah.
How are you related?
We're not related.
You're not related?
No.
One's a
It's-
park and one's a parks.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say, yeah.
We're singular and plural.
Interesting, yeah. So that blows that question. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the schedule and the district itself. Talk a little bit about that, Coach.
Well, the district, it'll be, we've got the toughest part of it at the very first. Gore's probably the favorite to win the district. We play them week 1 as far as districts. Week 2, then we play Colcord, which was the runner-up last year, and then third, then we'll play Central Salisaw. And that really, all the teams are going to be difficult, but those are probably the top 3 in a row right there, and probably in that order. So early on, we're going to know kind of where we're sitting in the district. Our non-district schedule, we open up with Savannah, then we play Henrietta, and then we are with Shoto. So we get a good early test in there, with some different types. We got 2 passing teams and one that's going to run it a whole lot. So it's going to get us ready, but we know for sure that, Gore's the team to beat in our district, and I think they'll be one of the top teams in the state. They're very well coached, and they got a lot of returning starters from last year, and so we know we have our work cut out for us overall. But right now, we're just a week to week. I know it sounds, coach's cliche, but we're still just improving each and every week. And, our team camp, we went with Haskell and Morris, and I was really pleased with how we were able to do. Also, Roland come over, and Roland had some big physical kids. As they were saying, we were really big last year on the offensive line. They probably averaged close to 270, 275, which is huge for a Class A line. It wasn't like it was short, heavy kids. It was big kids all around. But we've had to take a couple of tight ends, which Carson being one of them, and we're making him a tackle. As Hunter had said, we're going to be a little bit quicker. We're just as strong. I mean, our kids have done a great job in the weight room. Our summer numbers have been just outstanding. But we're going to be a little quicker, obviously, and we're going to have to use that to our advantage because, again, we're the Gores, a couple of other teams will play. Have got great size, and so we'll have to use our speed and quickness for that.
You've outlined a number of areas that you've got to kind of fill holes and look at. What are maybe your top 3 priorities in those first 3 non-district games that you'd really like to hone in on?
Well, the biggest thing is just having a whole new offensive line. That's the biggest place to get your continuity. Those guys have got to be one unit, and that's always the one that's got to be. And it doesn't matter what class or level or anything else is. The offensive line is always the most important. I know people love to talk about the skilled kids, and it is important. You've got to have the quarterbacks. You've got to have the receivers and running backs, but that line kind of dictates off of what you're doing. So the quicker that our line can get up there and start to gel, that's really what we're looking at. And then on the defensive side of the ball is, we got, I think, 9 starters back over there, which I didn't want to change it up hardly any because they did do so well last year defensively. They had the Gore and the Colcord games won. They would have been district champions last year, and just a little slip up here and there. They get a pick 6 against them against Gore that ends up costing them the 7-6 game, and gave up a late touchdown to Colcord and got beat 12-7. So that's very close right there. So there's just some minor things, but the offensive line is the thing that we've got to look at the most. We've got a couple of young kids that's coming on that I'm anxious to see how they produce early on in the season. And because, again, While those three teams that we're playing non-district may not sound like a bunch to some, we've got to learn about ourselves in a hurry, because then again, the next three are vital to us. We'll know playoff implications pretty much after those first 3 weeks of district.
Okay, Coach, thanks a lot. You guys, thanks for being here and talk a little bit about the Warner Eagles, and best of luck to you guys in the upcoming season.
All right, thank you, Nick.